As the shopkeeper groaned and sank, the artist struck again, this time aiming downward toward the slumping body, the mallet hitting the top of his head. Now the sound was liquid. The artist removed a smock from his bag and put it over his clothes. After stepping behind the counter, he drew the razor from his pocket, opened it, pulled back the shopkeeper's now misshapen head, and sliced his throat. The finely sharpened edge slid easily. Blood sprayed across garments on shelves. The overhead lantern seemed to brighten. A fine art. And that is an excerpt from the novel I will be reviewing for you today. The title is Murder as a Fine Art, and the author is David Morrell. What if someone utilized the descriptive details from a murder 43 years ago as a source for imitation in their own murder spree? This is essentially the question David Morrell asked when he began constructing the plot for his novel Murder as a Fine Art. The title of the novel was derived from an essay penned by Thomas de Quincey, which detailed the Ratcliffe Highway murders of 1811. De Quincey is the main character in David Morrell's novel, who was a literary figure known for his memoir, The Confessions of an English Opium Eater, which describes his addiction to laudanum as well as other circumstances in his life. Morrell makes De Quincey the main character of the book, along with his daughter Emily, and two cops who believe he's innocent when he becomes a suspect in the murder case, because the current killings resemble so closely his essay details on the Ratcliffe Highway murders. Morrell's research is top-notch as usual. He develops a fine rendering of De Quincey with depth, using excellent details about his opium addiction, the eloquent way he talks, and various other quirks in his personality. Morrell spent a lot of time researching De Quincey in order to depict him right, reading all his essays and numerous other scholarly work on the man. Some of the other characters, like Becker and Ryan, lose some depth because so much energy is focused on De Quincey, but it doesn't hurt the novel too much. I thought De Quincey's daughter Emily is depicted fine. He uses journal entries to get into her head, and it makes the novel feel like it was written in the Victorian time period. Morrell develops the landscape of Victorian London very well in the novel. Great details of how it looked, to words people used in cultural practice. The man spent 2 years reading about the area in that time period. He became so familiarized to it that when he visited some time later, he didn't even need a map to navigate the streets of London he was writing about. It was all deeply ingrained in his own mind. Some might argue that the factual details about people in Victorian London become gratuitous at times. I feel different about this. The book is a thriller, but a thriller written in the historical fiction vein. Morrell strove to make the book immersive, and he succeeds. I enjoyed the cool facts strung throughout the book about Victorian-era police procedure. One of my favorite chapters details the harsh treatment of prisoners at that time, and it brings up the debate of whether a prison should focus on punishment or the rehabilitation of its prisoners. The authorities of the prison believe that punishment is most important, because they feel that people will be far too afraid to break the laws if they have to endure punishment when they're in prison. Whereas De Quincey's daughter Emily believes that the prison life should be more focused on rehabilitating treatments. I found this debate quite fascinating, as well as the details about the rigorous and tedious process a prisoner undergoes to earn their food, among other things. The book also does a splendid job when it comes to its action sequences. Of course, this is no surprise. It's David Morrell's forte, after all, the master of the high-action thriller. But the strongest element of the book, I believe, is the research. I love David Morrell's approach to writing a novel. He sees a novel as a vehicle for learning a new subject matter. And every book for him is a brand new adventure in regards to what he can learn. So there you have it, guys, my book review of Murder as a Fine Art by David Morrell. I highly recommend it. Go pick it up today and devour it. A great book. And this is DeathGroundReviews, the monster that devours horror, suspense, and all those things, the fantastic. And I'll see you next time.